What's up, everybody? Jesse Lee here in another video. And in this video, we're talking about something I'm super excited about: how to create a buzz before your launch. Now, this could be if you're launching an online course or a product or an e-commerce product or a supplement. Doesn't matter what it is, this works. And the reason I know it works is because I've helped hundreds of businesses generate income online. And this specific formula has made me and my clients literally tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in very short periods of time. So I'm going to go over those in a little bit, but I want to talk to you about the tactics of how to do this before I jump into those actual use cases. Okay, so how do you create a buzz before your launch? This is super awesome. There's about 5 tips I want to go over. There's more things that you can do, but I want to cover 5 big ones that I found really, really useful. So the first one is you want to get everyone in one place. All right. Now, I'm going to give kind of a gruesome analogy here, but it's the best one that I can think of. All right. So please just stay with me. So if I were a director, right, let's say I wanted to direct a C-grade horror movie. And in that horror movie, somebody gets eaten by piranhas, right? I know this is a little dark. Trust me, it's worth it. So if I wanted to direct a C-grade horror movie and I needed to get a bunch of piranhas feasting on a bunch of meat so I could film it up close and see all of them going crazy, right? How would I do that? Well, I could go out into places where I know there might be piranhas. I could try to throw a steak in the water or something like that and see if I get some bites. And I might get lucky, but it would be a crapshoot. Like, I wouldn't exactly know that I was going to get the footage that I wanted to, right? So what would be a better way to do this? Instead of throwing a steak in the water and see if I could get piranhas to go crazy, what if I did this? I just took a tiny little bit of meat, a tiny bit of that steak, and I put it on a hook and I cast it out, and one piranha bites on it. Now, I'll take that, put it into a big fish tank where I know that's where the movie set's going to be, right? And then I keep on doing that. Every day I go and I get more and more piranhas. I just take a little bit of bait, get them all together, and then I go and put them in this aquarium where I can film in a controlled environment, right? And then after a long time of doing that, building up that tank of piranhas, now I have them all in one place. And when I go to film, I can film multiple times if I want to, because I got them all there. And I can go and I could dump a bunch of, steak in the water, and then I could see them all go crazy and start thrashing. If you get all of them in one place, it creates this insane buzz. So this is the first tip: is you want to get all of your prospects in one place where you can launch them all at the same time. So you should spend the majority of your time before you do your launch should not be spent creating your product or anything like that. You can always create prototypes and sell before you even create your product, right? So the number one thing you want to do is focus on build up your list, get all those people in one place at one time. And what I found the best to be that you don't have to deal with algorithms, social media algorithms, and all these different things is putting bait out there that leads people to your site and gets them on your email list. So this is called a lead magnet. And this is really, really important concept when you go to launch anything. Is you want to be constantly building your list to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So when you go to shoot that C-grade horror movie, you got all of your fish in one place, right? And the other part that's really great about this is that when you go to launch, if you got them on an email list, now it's a lot easier for you to do one-to-many marketing where you just send one email and it goes and blasts out to hundreds or potentially even thousands of people. So that's the first tip: build your email list. So what's the second tip? Okay, once you got them on your list, you want to ask them what they want. I've just seen this so many times where I'll work with somebody and they try to launch their own product and it falls flat because they built their product in a total vacuum. They never bothered surveying your audience and asking, like, hey, we're going to launch this thing. What sort of features would you want? If I were launching an online course, I'd be like, well, hey, I'm going to teach a course on, I'm a drummer, right? I'm going to teach a course on how to play drums. What do you want to hear? What do you want me to teach, right? And if people see that, they get excited that you're actually taking their opinion into account. And when people know that they are a part of the creation process, that gets an insane amount of engagement, right? And so the best companies know how to do this well, where they're actually really in touch with their users and asking constantly, hey, we're going to be putting this thing out. What do you want to see in it? Okay, so that's the second tip. Ask your audience what product features they want in whatever it is you're releasing, whether it's an online course, a supplement, a SaaS product, doesn't matter. Ask your audience. Okay, the third tip is you want to use curiosity to seed your offer. All right, now curiosity is one of the most powerful mental triggers. If you really want to learn about all the different mental triggers that go into making an insane offer and a great launch, there's a book, it's called Influence, and it's by Robert Cialdini, and it goes over curiosity as well as a bunch of other mental triggers. But if you use curiosity the right way, where you're seeding your offer, you're not giving it away completely, but you're giving people hints of what's coming. Because remember, tip number 2, you asked them what they wanted. Now you can start using curiosity to be like, hey, you remember that thing you asked for? It's coming down the pipeline. So you kind of use being a little bit vague and getting people excited about what's to come. I'll tell you one of the best examples of this I've ever seen was when Elon Musk first posted about the Cybertruck. He just posted a design, a picture. It was very simple, but man, did it seed curiosity. And when that launched, they sold insane amounts of Cybertrucks before they were ever even created. Okay, so that's tip number 3. Use curiosity in your launches to start seeding your offer, and start seeding somewhere between 1 week and maybe 1 month in advance. Okay, the next 2 tips are also mental triggers, much like curiosity. Tip number 4 is seed scarcity in your offer. All right, now there's a really interesting experiment that Robert Cialdini mentions in his book, Influence. And it's a group of scientists who got some people together in some rooms, and they were seeing how these people would rate the desirability of the cookies based on how many cookies were in front of them. And here's the crazy thing. When they started testing scarcity, something amazing happened. And here's how they did this. One of the people in there, they had a bunch of cookies in the jar, and then a doctor in the middle of this experiment went in and took a bunch of the cookies and just left one. And he said, oh, we need these for other parts of our experiment, or whatever they said. And it was after those cookies had gotten taken away that the people being experimented on actually rated the cookies as higher in desirability. The crazy thing is that they didn't necessarily rate them higher in taste. They just wanted them more. So when you seed scarcity, you could say something like, hey, pre-orders up to X amount only, or we're only letting 100 people into this online course, or whatever it is. But you want to start seeing that, again, sort of like curiosity, somewhere between 1 week and 1 month in advance. All right, so that's tip number 4, is use scarcity. Now, the last one is also really powerful. Urgency is another mental trigger that gets talked about in the Robert Cialdini book. And this one is super powerful because what it tells people is, hey, there's a time limit on what's going on. You can't just wait on this forever. So in the past, when I've used this for my online course launches for my clients and things like that, we will put in the messaging, hey, we want to let you know that this course is going to be open for enrollment just between this date and this date. And oftentimes we'll put something like a 7 to 14 day timer on it. What this forces your prospects to do is make a decision. The reality of human nature is that people aren't going to act unless you give them a reason to. So again, much like curiosity and scarcity, you want to start seeding this maybe 1 week to 1 month in advance to just let people know, hey, this product drop, it's only going to be available for X amount of time. So I want to give you another example of this here. Now, I live in Houston, Texas, and Texas is known for its barbecue. In my opinion, it's the best barbecue in the world. Don't tell Kansas City. If you look at any of the good restaurants around Houston, for example, Truth or Pinkerton's or anything like that, they're going to have lines out the door on any given day. Now, there's a reason for that, and it's because there's urgency and scarcity built into the business model. Now, why is this the case? If you go to any other restaurant, it takes maybe 10 minutes to prepare a burger. Whereas for barbecue, you're literally spending 10 to 14 hours smoking all this meat, right? And so people who are professional barbecuers, which they probably have a name that I'm screwing up right now, so I apologize if you are, but people who are professional barbecuers, they would actually start the evening before prepping, and they would actually let the smokers go all night. So it takes an incredibly long time to prepare these. And if you're running a restaurant, you have to get a ton of space to be able to do this all for the next day. But this means you can't just create barbecue at the drop of a hat. By the end of the day, if you go to a barbecue restaurant, what's often going to happen is they're going to start running out of meats. And that's because there's just not enough. So scarcity is built in. So this is why you see those lines get stacked up. And then the other thing is urgency. And the urgency is there's a time limit on it. The barbecue restaurant will eventually close. So I'd say they depend a little more on scarcity, but the concept applies that, look, there's a time and a limited amount of resources we have, so you better get here soon. So you can go 7 days a week to any of these places, and there's always going to be a line out the door, no matter which one it is. So I hope that kind of frames urgency and scarcity to you, and showing that the limited resources is really powerful. So when you're trying to create buzz before your launch, you really want to touch on scarcity and urgency, right? So this might be, if you're launching an online course, you might say something like, hey, scarcity would be, we're only letting in just 100 students for this particular cycle. And the urgency would be, we're only having a 7-day enrollment period. This works like a charm. I've done multiple course launches where we've done well into the 5 figures. And this is where I want to talk about my personal clients that have had these successes. One of them was a guy named CM De La Vega. He's a great animator, and we launched his course. We did a 7-day launch, and we had a cap of 100 students. And we also had just a 7-day timeline for enrollment. And in 7 days, on our very first launch, we sold $12,000. And another one of my clients, the Gregorian Shan Academy, this YouTuber, Chris Jasper, yet again, we did another 7-day launch, and we put a limit on enrollment, which I don't remember exactly what it was, but we ended up doing $65,000 in 7 days. Okay, so I'm hoping this is giving you some really good ideas for how to structure your next launch and how to create that buzz. Again, I'm super excited for you. Now, if you want to see how we created amazing buzz before our launches to do as much as $65,000 in a week, I'm going to go ahead and put that video up here. All right, so go ahead and check that out. Now, if you want to take it to the next step and you're looking for more guidance on how to launch, go ahead and check down below, and I'm going to provide a free framework for you to be able to download. And you can also work with me directly if you want to book a call. I'll also leave my calendar link down below. Okay, quick wasting time. You got to go create buzz for your next launch. So go ahead and click on the video and get started.